like to welcome you in my new video. This video is going to be about how to enhance your creativity. And this video can apply to you not only if you are like a super creative kind of person in like art or music or something in this kind of more like traditional forms of art which you can imagine, but also if you maybe create your own profile on the internet of any sort on social medias, or if you work in some company and you are maybe expected to give some kind of product and result of your work. You are maybe supposed to become more creative in how you maybe gain new customers and stuff like that. And for all of these, or even if you are a student in school and you are expected to write some kind of paper or dissertation work or anything like that, then this video can really give you one idea which I think maybe many people know about, but it's not very common that I would encounter this idea in the real life and that I would see people applying it, not nearly enough compared to how amazing results you can get if you apply this one simple. It's not simple in my opinion, but it's like simple as I'm gonna be explaining it to you, and then you can find your own angle to it. And so I will now start. I will give you some really specific examples. So I will start maybe with something a little bit like a story, because when I was in college I was studying Spanish language. It was just like a part of my studies, and I was basically having this presentation about this Spanish painter Salvador Dali, and I kind of enjoyed it very much because it's just I really enjoy his paintings. I really like looking at Salvador's paintings because they are really inspirational and original for me. This painting is very famous, and this is called Persistence of Memory, and I would really tell you, try to kind of like look at the picture, look at the painting, and try to figure out what could it possibly mean. Why did he painted the painting like that? Why there is a clock which is melting, and what can it tell you about like your perception of reality? And then you can like Google it and find out what people write about it, what's supposed to be the meaning of this painting and stuff like that. But what I personally love is I just love to look at these paintings because to me they are very original. And to this I would like to tell you a little bit of his life, because most of the times when I think of painters, I think of these people who just wouldn't go to school and wouldn't educate themselves, and they would just paint something and it would be kind of like original if they were really great painters. But what is interesting about Salvador Dali is that he went to this I think it's called University of Fine Arts or something like that. It was in San Fernando in Spain. He actually went to school. I think he was kicked out, or he kind of ended in this school. He had some troubles with like professors, but when he was going to this school, and this is something I got from his autobiography, which is called The Secret Life of Salvador Dali, which you can read. It's really interesting book. It's like really original. He's really like maybe a bit of controversial as a person, and it's really interesting to read about it. And this is I get from this book. And he was going to this school and he was observing something. He was observing that his classmates actually, they're not really interested in learning knowledge and like anything about painters and paintings. They were just interested to go there and kind of paint themselves what they felt like, what they wanted to paint. And Salvador, he was actually quite the opposite to them. He wrote in this book that he wants to gain as much knowledge as he can about what was already painted, so that he can look at that, take inspiration from that, use it as a base, and then move up from that to a higher stage and actually create something that has never been created. And he was actually saying that if you refuse to learn any knowledge about your branch of activity whatsoever, if you are this kind of artist who just never wants to learn what's already been painted, then you're just gonna end up painting something that is mediocre or average, or likely that is just resembles something that has already been painted, because you don't take what's already done as an inspiration. Because there can be people who are just so afraid, they're just gonna copy somebody if they look at their work, that they don't look at work at other people like ever. And they just scared to even look at their work. And this can be one group of people. And then you have other group of people. This is like, you can observe this today in the world in which we live in, is that usually people say that they got inspired by somebody, but what does it mean in their words is basically that they copied somebody. They just started doing something that somebody else was already doing. And you can see this on social medias, you can see this with many influencers. They're just gonna say that they got inspired by something here and something there, but literally what it means with many of them is that they just copied somebody and then they hope that no one is gonna find out about it. And also you can see this in fashion, like people saying that they got inspired by some outfit or whatever, but literally what it means is that they just wear something that somebody else already wore and they're just copying this person. These are two different approaches and none of them is what I'm talking about here. Actually, what I'm talking about here with the use of this example with Salvador Dali is that you should be able to gather as much knowledge as you can about the branch of activity in which you are and use it as a base. Look for some things which are missing there for you or which could enhance what already exists and move like one stage above that or even higher. Because if you're not going to look at what has already been created in your branch of activity, if you're not going to gather any knowledge whatsoever, you're just going to end up creating and thinking about something that somebody else already created. And then you're just going to keep doing your work and you're just going to be mediocre and you're just going to keep doing something that's going to easily come to your mind, just as easily as it can come to the mind of somebody else. And this person can also think that they are original and they're easily going to get the first idea that is going to come in their head. And there's a really high possibility that somebody else also thought about it. You might ask yourself now, why don't people do the research if it's so great? I personally think that they maybe don't find it as interesting because doing your research, it's not really, it can be boring. It can be like boring and hard work for many people. It can even be discouraging because then you will actually see with your own eyes that you maybe thought of yourself as somebody who's really original, only to find out why you will be gathering your knowledge that you're really not that original. But don't try to escape this feeling, try to hold on to it, because this is when you finally realize, I'm not really original. I can just now try to do my research and maybe if I put in enough work, I will become original. But there's a pathway to it. I can just think that I like art and so I'm just gonna swing it and I'm just gonna be amazing artist just like that without putting in any effort for it. And I know that just painting the art is the effort, but I hope by now you get what I mean. But if I tell you example with like companies today, you might also notice many examples of this where like even if you take like a Facebook, like do you think that Facebook is something original? Like even today I remember when it was launched, people were so excited about it. They were like thinking like this is something so new and this is so exciting, and I was looking at it and I thought to myself that it's not really new. There were platforms like that even before that, like MySpace or other platforms where people also connected, but this was just a little different. I feel like with Facebook, when I observe what they are doing is that they kind of took the original idea of connecting people through these platforms and they kind of put it on another level. And it's not like they were original. They weren't original at all. They can actually get inspired by what's already existing and upgrade it and then make it better. Wait until somebody comes and with some idea and then you can improve it, find a little quirks in there and put it on another level. You can do this in any kind of like technology or platforms or stuff like that. And I feel like very few people think about it in this way. Like people usually will tell you, oh, I can't come up with anything new because everything was already invented, everything already exists. Like, oh, for these entrepreneurs, like, who came up with, like, Microsoft and Apple, it was so easy, and they just, everything is now invented and there's nothing for me to, like, come up with. But that's not really true. That's not true if you take the inventions and use it as a base and try to think about something new. When Facebook came, it was also, everything was here. They just came and they just upgraded it on the next level. Also, I would tell you example from my own life, because this can seem very abstract, and up until now you can tell me, but Salvador Dali, he was a famous painter, he was gifted, and these people, they have money and they have ideas and they are like visionaries, and these are not regular people and stuff like that. Well, I am a regular person and I still use this in my life, this example, and I will give you example from my life. It's gonna be really, I'm gonna make it really short, this explanation, I hope. And actually, when I was in college, we got this assignment where we were supposed to write a paper on a topic which wasn't like your typical like compilation of resources, but the teacher told us that we are asked to basically give our opinions about a topic. And he made available papers from the last semester for us on the internet so we could look at them and we could take some inspiration from that. And he made it available so that we could look at it. And what do you think happened? What do you think happened? There were people who never even looked at these papers because they were terrified that if they looked at them, they would just start writing something that somebody else already wrote. They were afraid that they would just copy this paper, and so they wanted to keep a clear head, and they just started writing whatever was the first thing that came to their mind. But I knew that if I did this, if I just started writing what would be the first thing that would come to my mind, I would end up just writing something that somebody else already wrote last year. And so what I did myself was that I opened every single one of these papers which were available, which was like 7 or 8 papers, I'm not really sure now. And I just opened the first paper and I looked at it, and as I was reading it, I already got some ideas about what the person was writing. And I saw some contradictions in the first paper, and I wrote them as notes for myself. So basically I was writing notes from this paper, just random ideas which came to my head in connection with this topic and with this person's point of view. And then I opened the second paper and I did the same thing. I wrote my notes and I looked at it, and I kind of was trying to find some holes in this argumentation. I was trying to expand some arguments which I felt like were underdeveloped. I got some hints and ideas from this paper which reminded me of something completely different, and I wrote my notes on that. So basically what I was doing is that I was trying to make the paper more complete, finding something which would expand on this topic, finding some contradictions which I would explain in my paper, finding different points of views. And by the time I was finished with the 7th or 8th paper, I had a crystal clear idea what I'm going to write about. What I did is that every single one of all of these papers kind of integrated in my head into this knowledge about this topic which I didn't have before I read this paper. And I kind of, in a way, if I should say metaphorically, I like a little bit stepped on it and moved myself above that. I don't mean to be like not like respectful towards the work of others. That's not what I mean. Because the paper which I created could easily be used the next year with the next students also as a stepping stone, and somebody could find some contradictions in my paper and kind of move up from that, or move to a different side of argumentation, different perspective. You never know. And by the time I was finished with this research of mine, I actually realized that I wasn't even trying to write a paper, but as I was looking at my notes, it's like the paper was already done. And I had a really good grade for this paper. It wasn't like it was like some copy or compilation or anything. It was really my original thoughts. I just used the papers as an inspiration. And basically, what I would like to tell you here with my video is that it's really good to try to distinguish between copying somebody and taking inspiration from somebody. Because when you take inspiration, what's going to happen to you is that you're going to actually create something completely different than somebody created already if you do it the way how I described to you. And why you should think about, why you should even do this. First thing, it's not only because it's gonna move you forward, you're gonna become a leader in what you are doing. You're gonna not only gonna be a simple follower, but you're really gonna come up with something original. But also, it's gonna give you this creative joy. You're really gonna feel like you are really pushing something forward, or you're not simply like doing something that somebody else already did, but you are really thinking about this from these new perspectives. It's gonna open your mind in a way that you're gonna see, like, if you really want, you can move something in a new direction. You can really think of something new, and it doesn't have to be this close-minded approach and you thinking that, oh, everything has already been invented, because it's not true. You can still come up with something new. It doesn't have to be like something mind-blowing. You can just simply start to open your mind and jump into new horizons and kind of see what is possible. Experiment it with this, because it's gonna make you feel so much better with your work, so much nicer, and your potential is just gonna like develop more and more as you're gonna try this technique and this approach. So that is everything for my today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you took some inspiration from that. And also, if you have any questions, please ask me in the comments. I will be really happy to answer you. If you like this video, you can give it a like, because I'm always like happy for any feedback that I get. And if you enjoyed this video and my content which I have on my channel, which is basically from the field of personal development, self-help, maybe I will shoot some videos from the field of psychology. I'm really not sure which direction my channel is gonna take, and I will just see which kind of videos I will like to shoot. And so I'm not really sure with the next direction of my channel. That is basically what I'm saying. What I know for now is that I'm gonna keep shooting videos because I really enjoy that. And so you can subscribe if you are interested to see where this is gonna develop. And so that's everything for now, and have a nice now, and I see you next time with my next video. Bye.